hey, if you need to go ahead and sue us, that's okay. It's not a battle they're going to win, and we're not going to back down, because at the end of the day, we have logic and facts behind us.
Today's video is sponsored by Native Sons Goods, makers of the best woven guitar, bag, and camera straps on planet Earth. And now the best is even better with a new line of hand-woven Maya Serape straps with USA organic herringbone hemp backing. Get 10% off when you use the link in the description, and remember, when you support my sponsor, you support this channel, and I sure appreciate it. Hello everybody, Brad the Guitarologist here. Welcome back to the channel. As most of you guys know who have followed this channel and have followed online news for a little while in the guitar world, you'll know that Gibson Guitars has had its fair share of problems over the last couple of years. First, of course, they went bankrupt, as everybody I'm sure knows. Then they had a series of issues. They've had leaked videos crushing hundreds of guitars under end loaders. They've had the problem of the Mark Agnesi's now infamous Play Authentic video.
To the manufacturers out there, we want you to know that you've been warned. We're looking out. To all the people in the film and television and commercial industry, stop taping over the logos on the headstocks. Be original. Play authentic.
They have actually sued Dean Guitars for their version of the Flying V. They've sued people in Europe and lost the cases in Europe. You know, it just seems to be one thing after another. At one point, Gibson actually started a program where they were going to license Gibson shapes to some companies, including Echo Park Guitars, which is a deal that has since fallen through. I have been in contact with the owner of Echo Park Guitars, Gabriel, and I've spoken to him several times. He doesn't want to come on officially because, you know, there are some legal issues that are still kind of outstanding, and he didn't want to kind of go on the record about some things, but maybe one of these days we'll get Gabriel on here to explain what all happened with that. But suffice it to say, Gibson has had its share of bumps in the road over the last couple of years, and the internet has been quick to pounce. This is just yet another example. Here this past week, Gibson has sent a cease and desist letter now to Kiesel Guitars.
So this is the body shape, an unequal length V guitar, right?
Mm-hmm. That's right.
So very unique. Well, the good folks at Gibson decided to send us a cease and desist letter on a guitar my dad designed in the mid-'80s. It would be like if somebody said this Ultra V and the Gibson V look the same, that'd be like saying a Porsche looks like a Ferrari. I named the Ultra V. So I think it was about 86 when it came out. I was 7 years old. So it's like a really special model to me, and to have those bozos try to tell us we can't make it anymore when it looks literally nothing like. I mean, come on, guys. I mean, look at the pointed body. Look at the bevel on it. I mean, does that look anything like their V?
Kiesel Guitars, of course, based out of California, formerly Carvin Guitars. They still have the exclusive rights to make guitars under the Carvin name also, and they do issue a couple of Carvin guitars still. But this past week, Jeff Keisel, the owner of Kiesel Guitars, went to Instagram with a cease and desist letter, and I reached out to Jeff, had a very long discussion with him about all things Gibson, about the history of Carvin guitars, about the guitar market in general. I thought you guys would enjoy, so check this out.
Thanks for calling Kiesel Custom Guitars. To speak with one of our guitar experts, press 1. Hello, it's Jeff.
Hello, Jeff. Hey, this is Brad, the Guitarologist, man. How you doing?
Hey, what's up, dude? How are you?
I'm doing pretty well, man. Yeah, listen, I saw the Instagram video you put up, I guess it was, I don't know, a couple days ago, and yeah, just a really curious thing. What do you think is going on in Gibson's mind, dude? What are they're coming after the Ultra V? Is that the only model that they're coming after on the cease and desist that you just received?
No, they're coming after two of our models, and one is the Ultra V, and I'll talk about that real quick. That way we kind of keep both guitars separate.
Sure.
So the Ultra V came out in 1986, and what a lot of people probably don't know, but it's public knowledge, is Gibson's trademark for their V was approved in 1995. So here I got a model that came out in 86, or my dad came out with, I really should say, but the company came out with in 86. I was only 7 years old. We've been selling it ever since. It's not changed or anything. And so it's pretty, God, what is the word I want to use here? I mean, what a lack of research on their part just to go ahead and send a letter, with no kind of context to fall back on. And it's pretty sad. Obviously they've got to be going through some financial struggles for them to be wasting time on something like this. This is just a chase that will end, and they're ultimately losing. I think what they're after is companies to go, oh, almighty Gibson, we're sorry, we'll stop making it. But when you look at the facts, number one, we've been making it before their trademark was approved. So even if it was a direct copy, there's nothing they could do. Which it's not a direct copy. I mean,
it's not even close.
Nothing. It's not even close. So you look at that and you go, okay, we've been making it since 86. Their patent 9 years later gets approved, or not patent, trademark, 9 years later, and it's a dotted line patent. The patent is not very enforceable the way they've done it, or trademark, excuse me, I keep saying patent, because a patent is actually how you really enforce something is with the design patent, and that's what we have on my newer models. We've done design patent work on, and that's when you can really go after somebody. And a design patent's only good for 15 years, so what you do is you follow that up with a trademark application if you want to ensure the life of that particular model stays protected. So they're really going down this road that they don't have any leg to stand on. They're just throwing these letters out to a lot of people. It's not just me. I don't feel special here. And I don't quite understand their stance, because I know they sent out a bunch of letters. It was a really bad look. They realized it was a really bad look, and they apologized.
Right.
And then this is a second wave of another really bad look for them. And to send it to a company like us, it really shows you that they don't know what they're doing. And what I mean by that is they don't know our internet presence. They don't know our fan engagement. They don't obviously know my personality, where I'm going to let everybody know. So if there was any kind of logic used in any kind of research, there's no way in hell they would have ever sent that letter knowing the dates. Number one, that 9 years prior we were making the model, and number two, it looks nothing like it. So the Ultra V it's like, really, guys, are you really that dense? Come on.
Yeah.
So it shows you the people making decisions. It's a corporation that doesn't know the guitar business, right? And that's typically what happens, right? And that's what I try to remind customers of, is over the years, these companies, the big boys, Fender and Gibson, they've been sold, they've gone out of business, and they've had corporations take them over, and they've been ran at different capacities and by different people over the years, where our company has been us the whole time, right? My grandfather, then my dad, and now me and my dad.
Which is extraordinary, by the way. I mean, that's just an extraordinary thing. I mean,
thank you.
And if you don't mind, give my listeners and viewers a little bit of history on your company in case they don't understand the connection between Kiesel and Carvin.
Sure. So in 1946, my grandfather founded Kiesel. And he had his original logo he designed in 1995, which is the logo we use today. It's got the K with the lines going above and below the IESE, and then they connect to the L. So that's our Kiesel logo my grandfather designed.
Wow.
And it's a timeless logo, in my opinion. Here in 1945 designs it, and we're using it today, and it looks still fresh.
I did not even realize that.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah, that's our logo, and he designed it, and so he operated as Kiesel, and he was selling just like everybody did at the time when he founded in 1946, actually before Fender, a couple months before Fender, not not a long time before Fender. So we're an older company than Fender. And my grandfather was a professional musician, played on the radio, and he would drive, a couple 100 miles to play on the radio a couple of times a week. And back then that's what you did. And he wanted to wind different pickups and wanted to make guitars. And that's how he started his business. It was a pickup and guitar business. And then he started making amplifiers. And in about 1950, he was selling through distributors, and they just weren't doing a good job. They basically took the brand, the Kiesel brand, and kind of took him out of the market almost, because at the time my grandfather, he was a farmer. He lived on a farm in Nebraska, and he didn't want to, be a farmer anymore. He wanted to be in the music industry. And when he had signed on these dealers and distributors, the one key point he didn't put in the contracts was minimum purchases to maintain exclusive. Had he put that in the contract, he could have got out, or he could have forced them to do a better job. Well, that wasn't in there. So he wanted to try going direct on his own. So here's 1950, nobody sold direct. Everybody had to go through distribution.
Yeah.
So my grandfather has this idea, hey, let's go direct. And so he reaches back out to these dealers and distributors. And these bozos, which thankfully for us today, say, hey, we have exclusive rights. You don't have a minimum in here. And so it got my grandfather into a bit of a pickle, you could say. And so what he did is he had to make a tough choice, and he folded the company. So he took Kiesel and said, okay, well, Kiesel's no longer then. Your agreement's with Kiesel. So that company doesn't exist anymore. And he founded Carvin at that point. And the name Carvin is a made-up name. So I've heard over the years working, at different capacities for this company, I'm a good friend of the Carvins. Oh, I know the Carvins well. I know Mr. Carvin. I've heard everything, growing up in this business. But Carvin doesn't exist. So what Carvin was, it's a made-up name. It's my grandfather's first two born kids. There was 5. He had 5 kids. And his firstborn was Carson. Mm-hmm. So he took the AR from Carson. Second born kid was Gavin. Took the VIN from Gavin. So he made this name up, Carvin. And he went direct. Well, my dad's name is Mark. Then there was John, and there was Paul. And so kind of fast forwarding, really taking a big leap here to 1970, operating as Carvin and selling, guitars, pickups, amplifiers, and audio gear. My uncle, Carson, was really into audio. And at the time, it was my grandfather, my uncle Carson, and then they had some employees. And my grandfather had told the boys when they were younger, when they were about 16, said, hey, look, this business isn't big enough for everybody. You guys are going to have to make your own way in life. So they go, okay, no problem. My dad was a musician growing up, played in all kinds of different bands, and he was actually the one assembling the guitars as a kid, helping out, in the summer and after school. And my grandmother wound the guitar pickups for my grandfather. So it's a family business, but at the time the sales just didn't warrant bringing on extra members of the family, so they helped at different capacities as they were going through high school. So my dad went and was a drafting engineer, had a drafting job in L.A., mm-hmm. a good paying job, and my uncle calls my dad, and they're in Valley Center, my dad's up in L.A., so about a 140-mile drive, so pretty good distance for those days. Cars weren't the best in the 70s, and my uncle says, hey, look, we're not going to make guitars anymore. I don't have a passion for them. They're not doing well sales-wise for us, so I'm going to discontinue them. I just wanted to let you know. And my dad, being the guitar player in the family and being in bands growing up, he was the only one out of the 5 boys that played guitar. And, of course, my grandfather was a professional musician, a guitar player. My dad says, well, what if I quit my job, my engineering job in L.A., and I take this risk and I move down there will you let me run this guitar department on my own? And my uncle says, absolutely. I think he was kind of hoping my dad would do that.
Yeah.
And my dad, had to talk to my mom, and she said, yes, they were high school sweethearts, still together to this day. And so she agreed, and they moved down, took a big risk. Here's a failing end of the company that they're getting ready to cut.
Yeah.
And my dad, really is the reason why we're here today.
Amazing.
So he takes this risk, opens this custom shop, and just really revolutionized our custom shop. And he's, again, the reason why we still make guitars, and had ideas to let customers pick their own woods, pick their own colors, instead of pre-building guitars and just putting them in a catalog.
Right.
Well, it's like, yeah, you sell direct, but there's no customizability.
Mm-hmm.
So he gave us the flair. He gave the customers a reason to seek us out instead of these other brands, that were readily available, right? So it's mail order company. You could get a guitar your own way, and really started treating customers like they were signature artists, right? Because a customer can get more options than you can with some famous guitar player's signature model. So that was his idea, and he started doing the full-page ads in Guitar Player magazine, and the company just really started to take off in the late 80s.
Oh, yeah.
He got a lot of big names playing our guitars, and he would go to the shows and hang out with the people. And my dad is an engineer type, so he's more introverted, and I'm not an introvert. I'm very open, and it's not that my dad's not passionate. He really is. It's just he doesn't show a lot of emotion. So when he would do the videos from a long time ago, he's excited about something, but he's very monotone, and it doesn't come across that he's really excited. And so
it's a different skill set.
Yeah, it's just a different, totally different personality, where my dad will think about something and he will tell you an answer down to the thousandth of an inch. He's very much an engineer. And, I have a lot of engineering background myself, but I didn't go to college and get a degree for engineering. Mine is all self-taught. It's real-world engineering. It's growing up in this business. I started with the company as a kid, just stripping guitar wires that went in pickups, 4 conductor wires. And my friends are out, playing kickball and skateboarding and doing stuff. And I would get in a minimum piece count per day because I got paid per piece. So I learned to be really quick and efficient at 8 years old when I started, working, doing some, part-time work for the company. And, I got kind of the taste of that, and then started doing, electronics for the company, soldering up, just the passive controls. Some models had 2-volume, 2-tone with some switching, and, others were just very basic. And so I started doing those, and started doing them for the whole company, for the guitars. And, that led into me starting to work in the custom shop and work on guitars, sweeping the floors, helping the guys stack wood, loading the machine, cutting things on the bandsaw. Taking 4 years of wood shop and winning state fairs with non-guitar related projects. So when it came time to kind of push harder, really for our brand and our company, what ended up happening is, it's a family business. So it was myself and my dad. We owned half of Carvin, and my uncle Carson and his 2 kids, which are both older than me, they're my older cousins, they owned the other half. And with any family business, you can imagine there's a lot of dynamics going on. And
sure.
At one point, Carvin was a $26 million a year company. Audio, amplifiers was the majority of our business, and guitars stayed around just under $5 million in sales. We were like $4.8 million, and we went along at that 4.8 for, it seemed like forever. And it was, just steady. And my dad would kind of react to the market. Okay, I guess we need a new model. And every couple of years we'd come out with something new. We really didn't reach out to artists. Obviously social media didn't even exist. And we kind of went at this pace that was more of a reactive instead of proactive. And,
right.
Getting along in that type of dynamic while, watching the audio business and watching the amplifier business just really decline, and a lot of that is China and competing and things of that nature. But again, also not being proactive on that side. And here I was a sales manager for the company for all the U.S. sales, which was, about 90% of our business, and watching this decline and doing market research reports and saying, hey, this is the base amplifier we need. It needs to have, number one, it needs to sell for $300. And these are the features we need. And, watching our engineering department build what they want. Give us a 600-watt bass head that weighs 80 or bass combo that weighs 80 pounds with features that people didn't even want, and then they don't sell.
Right.
And so watching this happen and really having these meetings and say, hey, this is what we need to build. And meanwhile, it just fell on deaf ears, and engineering would build what they want. Nobody was listening. The communication was just not there. Obviously the relationships are strained at that point because here's a company that's faltering, a company that's gone on forever and really just going down this path that is only going to lead to one way unless something radical changes. And, we owned half the company, but we didn't get half the votes. We didn't get half the say.
Right.
We were told we didn't know. We were told, well, you don't know this, you don't know that. And so it just got to the point where, we offered to stick it out and help them. And again, they didn't want our help. And, it got to the point where they said, well, it sounds like you know everything and you got it all figured out, so why don't you go on your own? It was very sarcastic. And so we went on our own. And it was scary for us. In 2015, we announced that Kiesel Guitars is now its own company, and Kiesel Guitars owns Carvin Guitars. That's how it works. So myself and my dad are the two shareholders for the company, 50-50 partners, and we incorporated as Kiesel Guitars. We took all of the machinery, the tooling, the patents, the employees, the inventory, everything that was Carvin Guitars. We took all of that for the guitar business, and that launched February 1st, 2015. And, again, starting with zero in the bank, you got to do everything. You got to get your own credit cards. You got to get, everything on your own. And it's pretty crazy because here's this established company, and even though we're taking our same employees, so the quality of the product never changed, you got to do all these other, BS things that you wouldn't have to normally deal with a company that's been around that long.
Yeah.
And so we do all that. And I'm using my own personal credit card at first because nobody wanted to give us any credit. It was
That's
like,
crazy.
oh, we can't even get credit.
That's insane.
It was absolutely, bananas. It was like, so we were nervous, not knowing where this was going to go. And our first month in business, so we hadn't had a $5 million a year month ever for guitars, ever, in the history of the company. So our first month, the customers rallied behind us so good. We did almost $800,000 in sales our very first month, and it's a 28-day month. It's February.
Wow.
And it was like, I'm looking at my dad, he's looking at me, and we're like, wow. In that first year, we did $6.5 million in sales.
Wow, amazing.
So here we had, we're struggling and, trying to work things out, and we go on our own. Best thing that could have ever happened. So although they really made the decision for us and kind of pushed us that way, I'm very thankful for them doing that because, they had since, 2.5 years later went out of business, closed their doors. I think at this point my cousin is basically putting the logo on some things that are made overseas, and he's selling them out of a warehouse in Alabama. I don't know. The conversations don't go at all. I haven't talked to my family. So, the relationship gets strained, and that's that. So we still get calls, though, here asking for Carvin audio because they don't have a working phone number. So we do get those calls. which is weird. And but yeah, that's kind of the history. So we went back to the Kiesel name, original logo. I was really close with my grandfather. You know, there was several of us grandkids, but you know, I always made it a point to spend time with my grandpa. He was an awesome guy. I had a lot in common with him. You know, I'm a musician myself, guitars and drums. I haven't been in a band for a while. The last band I was in, I actually played drums in, and I gave it up. Gave up the band when I had my daughter, my second-born kid, and you know, that's the right thing to do. You know, when you're really busy and you have a lot going on already. So.
Yeah, your grandpa sounded like a pretty amazing guy. My first exposure to Carvin stuff, man, my stepdad's brother had a Carvin from the 70s, and it was like this. I think it was single cut, solid body, pretty plain, but it played pretty good. And that guitar, and then also Steve Vai on Crossroads, he had that Carvin X100B in the background. And I ended up years later getting one of those. I got one of the early 80s ones that was like in Tolex black. And then I got one of the carpeted ones that had EL34 output tubes. And both of those just sounded monstrous. And I mean, I know that has nothing to do with the guitar business now, but that's my first exposure to the Carvin stuff was from that period. And yeah, just great stuff, man. And I'm glad you guys, and I have to commend you, dude. What you've managed to do with Kiesel as a brand, just in the limited amount of time that you've been doing this, you're recognized by everybody who goes on the internet. So, I mean, it's amazing what you've been able to achieve. And I think you definitely proved the naysayers wrong in that regard. So, you know, from where I'm standing, dude, I think you've done an amazing job. I don't know what Gibson's thinking, man, other than maybe they're trying to establish some kind of legal standing where they can get a few of these people to kind of, like you said, capitulate and throw up their hands and say, oh yeah, and bow down to Gibson's demands. And then they'll, you know, if they do any future lawsuits, they'll have a little bit of better standing, because then they'll have all these companies, a list of companies that you know, stop producing whatever it is they told them to produce, because see here, Judge, you know, these guys agreed that Gibson's authority was sacrosanct, you know, so I think that's probably what they're going for. But that's what I think you hit on it, man. That's what happens when you got a bunch of people running a company that's a guitar company, and it's, you know, it's based on selling stuff to artists, but you've got a bunch of people who have sold jeans in the past. Yep. And our PR people.
You know, when I talk to people, it's when we're selling guitars, it's like selling sports cars. It's like selling dessert. You know, you're not selling milk, you know, which is jeans and clothes and necessities, right? Toothpaste, things like that.
Right.
People need, but you don't need another guitar. And, you know, when you act in a capacity that is very... I guess you're really pushy and you're assuming a lot of things. You know, people don't need Gibson. They really don't. I mean, you can get, and I'm not saying anything about their product. You know, I have always been a fan of the Les Paul. I do like that guitar a lot. I don't like their quality of finishes. I don't like the construction necessarily, but I like the Les Paul shape. I have our California single cut tattooed on my forearm, which brings me to our second guitar they send us a letter about, was our CS6, our California single cut.
Right.
And what happened with that guitar, we launched that guitar after PRS won the lawsuit against Gibson. So here, Gibson goes after PRS in 2005. Gibson loses the lawsuit to PRS.
Correct.
For the PRS single, and it set a precedent in my mind and for everybody else in the guitar industry that, hey, it's okay to make this guitar.
Sure.
Because PRS won, and we launched ours after PRS won. And our guitar is not like a PRS, it's not like a Gibson. So when you look at it from that standpoint, it's also, here's a history you have. You went after a company and you lost. How are you going to come after me?
Right.
So we launched that guitar in 2006, again, after PRS won. and we've been making it since 2006. Here's a guitar we've been making 14 years, and you're going to knock on my door now. And this is a battle you've already lost. So are these people reading this? Are they researching it? Are they paying attention? They're not addressing it in their letter to me. They're not saying, hey, we know we lost this against PRS, but due to new evidence, this is our standpoint. There's nothing in there. It's just a generic letter that they probably spent $500 sending out, and now I had to lawyer up, of course, and I had to give a retainer, and I have to waste my time with.
I think part of me believes that could be what's going on. They feel like, oh, we have this team of lawyers that we have to pay for. Let's make everybody else pay for lawyers now. Let's make
you're probably right.
Yeah, let's make our competition have to be out all this money so they can't pour that into research and development and can't beat us further. But we kind of screw them in a way. They could, like you said, they can never win it. I don't think there's a possible case. So, and let me ask you this real quick, Jeff. Are you saying that your intention is to just say screw you, we're not going to comply?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, we have to give a letter back to them, but we're going to, we'll let them know that, hey, if you need to go ahead and sue us, that's okay.
Right.
It's not a battle they're going to win, and we're not going to back down, because at the end of the day, we have logic and facts behind us. They have nothing. They just have pure emotion. Hey, we hear in the industry you're making a better single cut than we are. And that's not going to be the case for everybody. Some people want that lacquer finish. They want that finish that's going to wear off. I get it. Some people want that shorter scale. So I can't say our guitar in everybody's mind is better. That's not what I'm saying at all. What I can say is we're using genuine Honduran mahogany. We're building it here in America. We're putting a higher gloss, better looking finish in terms of fit and finish. Our guitars are more playable as far as easier access, and then you can customize them on top of that. So when you look at it from this standpoint, you go, okay, Gibson, let's throw some robot tuners on again. And, that was a total disaster. But if they didn't have other companies building the single cut style guitar, you'd be forced to go to them. So they could weather a storm like that. But when they have a big, huge blunder with hundreds of thousands of guitars going out with these tuners that don't work, you can't even tune them yourself. How does that happen? Yeah. How do you get to that point as a company if musicians are running it? And the answer is they're not.
Right. And what's amazing to me has been just the kind of the two-faced aspect of the way they've approached all this. They said, oh, we're going to be friends with everybody, and then they come out with that stupid video, and then they're like, oh, we're sorry for that video, and now they're back to this again. So it's like, who's calling the shots over there? Is it actually Curly, or is it somebody at KKR calling the shots? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what their thought process is, but I wish they would have, before they start doing this type of stuff, you'd think they would have done their research.
Yep.
And they could have looked and said, okay, well, Kiesel actually beat us to when our trademark actually came out. So a company like that, we probably better leave alone. They're making a single cut that is, it's got a lot of a similarity to a PRS. It's still our own, but it's more similar to a PRS than it is a Les Paul. And we lost that battle. So at that point, we better go ahead and take a back seat, especially when you look at our fan engagement. We don't have as many followers as they do, but when we go live, we have thousands of people watching, and within a couple of days, our videos get 100,000 views when we go live.
Well, theirs don't. They have to go.
Oh, no, theirs don't.
Theirs don't. Yeah. They have to go, to some Hot Shots, private stash to get that many hits on a video. They don't. Sure. They don't get that many hits. I've been watching their channel, man. They have no savvy when it comes to online presence. I think that's why they hired Mark. And Mark, frankly, I mean, granted, it wasn't all his fault, but he's dropped the ball big time with that video he made. And
Yeah.
You know, it's just they blew it. They basically shot themselves right in the foot. I think at this point, my only theory, man, is that they're trying to throw their weight around and hope that they cost somebody so much money that they end up going out of business. Like they almost drove Paul Reed Smith out of business, from what I hear. You know, that he was basically, you know, he was getting down, you know, to his kind of the end of his bank account too a little bit by the time I think all that was over in legal fees. So maybe that's what they're thinking, man, that they could try to do this to you. And I just hope that the guitar community rallies around you and doesn't let that happen.
Yeah, and it's a sad thing. I mean, you know, I don't know how far they're going to push this, but, you know, it's not something that we're feeling like we should ever have to back down from.
Yep.
And I haven't heard from my attorney in a couple of days. You know, he just laughed at the whole thing. And I told him, I said, look, you know, I'm going to go live. I'm going to tell the fans about this. And I'm going to make a new model right in front of their eyes, a headless version of my Ultra V. And I'm going to put it for sale. I'm also going to mark down my Ultra V, which is the model they're pissed off about. I'm going to mark down my single cut so that people that want to support us, I'm going to go ahead and discount it a little bit to help them support us. And my lawyer thought it was a great idea.
Yeah,
you know,
it is.
He's that comfortable about our stance that he was okay with me, you know, quote unquote, poking the bear.
Right.
You know, based on, you know, you just look at facts, right? And that's what you know, a judge is going to do if it does go there. I you know, I don't know how it could go there, but you never know. You know, everybody's got their right to a day in court within a certain point of view, but I don't think it's going to go that far. And of course, we're going to keep the public apprised the whole way through.
Yeah. It's so weird that, you know, they're trying this stuff with Dean, and Dean's obviously, you know, they're doing more or less a direct copy of a V, a Gibson style, a style V, but they've been doing it for so long. There's no way they're going to win that one either, and they've already lost that in Europe, the one that they had there. So it's like, dude, you know, when are they going to stop trying to do the same thing again and again, expecting a different result? You know, because that's like the definition of insanity. You know,
that's right. Well, and it's this, is I've always told people this, and I really believe in this. You can only worry about yourself. You can't worry about what somebody else is doing. And if you focus on yourself, you're going to get the results you want. But when you're worried about somebody else, that's typically like a last-ditched effort, and you're usually on your way out at that point. I've seen people that way in this industry where it's at different capacities, where they're worrying about somebody and why they're so successful, and they end up ultimately driving themselves into the ground because they're focused on that person. And not everybody can be what they're worried about. You know, in other words, I think a lot of our success is the transparency. You know, the going live, the walking through the shop. We do a live Q&A every Wednesday, and we let our customers come on and ask us anything. And, you know, you're sitting in front of the camera, and you got to answer it. You know, you can't, well, let me think about that. You got to give them an answer. And I'm comfortable doing that, but that's not for everybody, you know, and I think that's where we're different. You know, back a long time ago, I got in a pretty heated argument with our advertising department back in the Carvin days because I was starting to take over the social media side. We took it over in about 2012. I think we had 7,000 followers, and within a year, spending $0, we went to 250,000.
Right.
And what I did was Facebook Live before Facebook Live knew what that was.
Yeah.
So we would shoot a video on a cell phone, and I said, look, we're going to shoot this video, but I don't want you to stop it. You know, and my social media guy at the time was like, okay, what do you mean? I'm like, well, I don't want to edit the video. I want you to shoot the video as if somebody's standing there in front of me. You're just going to follow me around. I'm going to talk, and I'm going to mess up. I'm going to screw up. I'm going to say the wrong things. I'm going to have to correct myself. But I want someone to feel like they're there with me.
Right.
He was like, okay, so that's what we did. So we would shoot a video. We'd go right back to our computer. We'd upload it. Mistakes and all, swearing and all, everything, you know, just things would not go perfect, right? We'd have things that would happen during the video that was like, oh, that would have been better if it didn't, but
Like, whoops.
I
Yeah.
didn't want to do a do-over.
Yeah.
And so me and my social media guy were on the same page, but the advertising department that was Carvin was furious. You can't do this, and this isn't right. And then it got to the point where, okay, well, we're going to make our own social media that you don't get to post videos on. Like, okay, so you mean I get to focus just on guitars on these? Cool. So they just made it easier for me, and
Right.
I didn't have to worry about, their products. They made it a very us and them type of relationship, and we just wanted the customer to feel like they were there with us. And it's like I'm out in public and people will come up and talk to me. I talk to them, I'll take pictures with them and hang out with them. It's like I'm only here because of them.
Right.
And I think a lot of people forget that key thing, that we have to be thankful for our fans, whether they're customers or they're just supporters, whether they actually buy or they're just preaching the good word. Because without them, we're not here. I don't get to do what I want and what I love, and then I'm working for somebody else at the end of the day. And so I think if you have that mentality where you remember that every single day, you're going to be fine.
Yeah.
And I stress that to my kids, but I also show my kids through how I act and how I treat people. And I truly love it. I want to be here. I want to talk to the customers and the fans, and that's why we go live every single week. And, it's like, people at first, when I first started kind of coming on the scene, in the public capacity, was about 2012. And people at first were like, oh, well, let's see how long this guy lasts. Let's see how long his attitude's like that. Man, it's 2020 now. So, I mean, in 8 years, it's like, you haven't changed, so it's like, oh, I guess this guy's real. Yeah. And
if you don't make any enemies along the way, man, in your pursuit of success, if you don't ruffle some feathers, I'm a firm believer that you really haven't been doing anything.
Absolutely agree, 100%.
So, man, the one thing I think Gibson has done really wrong, and I think that you have done really right, and I think that it shows, is that Gibson. I have been basically riding their case, as have a lot of other, online commentators on YouTube particularly, has been riding Gibson's case for a while now, even going back to the Henry days. And they never once have reached out to me. Not one time, man. Not one time have they said, hey,
Wow.
we would like your opinion on what we could do better. They've never once. My number is published. My email is published. They could have reached out one time and said, we noticed that you're making a lot of videos against us, and we understand, we haven't been doing everything right. This is what they could be doing, is reaching out to people like me saying, what can we do better? You know what I mean? But they haven't done, they have not one time reached out to me and said anything. So it's just been like, not that I think I deserve that. It's just that I think it's indicative of a company that doesn't know what's going on with their own legacy,
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, it's pretty sad. And, it's even if you decide you don't want to reach out to somebody, make a change, though.
Exactly.
Show people through your action, because, all the time, today's day and age, you hear people say this, you say that, but it's really actions. It's walking the walk, It's like you can sit here and say whatever you want, but, talk is cheap. And it boils down to actions, and that's what it's all about. And people don't, they don't mean what they say, a lot of times. And it's kind of an interesting, world we live in. It's, with everything being so accessible and quick and instant, you're under the microscope too. So it's like you don't have time to act.
Right.
So people are getting seen for what they really are. And, if you're, you have good intentions, I think that's going to be something that people are going to see, and they're going to see through it. And like you said, I don't get along with everybody. I'm an opinionated person.
Yep.
I say my opinion.
Same here.
And I don't back down from something I believe. And my goal is to treat someone the way I would want to be treated on the other end. So, in other words, if someone's being an asshole when they say something to me, I wouldn't act that way to somebody else unless I expected them to retaliate back. So I'm going to say something back. I'm not going to just sit there sheepishly and let someone talk trash on me, or the company. And we have a zero tolerance policy. It's like, if you can't say something constructive, you're gone. We just ban them. It's like, we don't have time for that. We'll post artist videos and they'll say things about certain artists like, well, I don't understand the point of that, and this guy sucks, or I'm way better. It's like, all right, man, like, there's just no time for that. So,
yeah,
it's a very negative environment we live in. There's plenty of anxiety and pressure on people. We don't need to create more. People need to just get along. And you know what? If you don't like something, you don't have to tell everybody in such a negative way that you don't like it.
Yeah, just go. Just
go.
Or
it's okay to say something that is, you don't have to always say, hey, that Kiesel stuff's the best thing. If you don't like headless guitars, we post a headless guitar, and you want to post a comment, headlesses aren't my thing, but that guitar's finish is really nice.
Yeah.
Or, wow, the headless craze is pretty crazy, still not my deal.
Right.
That's
I think
okay. That's fine.
I think the social media thing, people have this idea that people are, like if somebody is a celebrity of sorts and they're a Kiesel endorsee or whatever, they'll see them as somebody who's kind of, they can lob pot shots at them with no consequence, or like they're not a real person or something, or like you're not a real person, like you're, I don't know. It's this kind of veil of quasi celebrity. They think that it's okay to just throw these pot shots from their mother's basement or something, I guess, for lack of a better descriptor. But, yeah, that's just the internet, man. Yeah. And you know what I usually do with comments like that? Like when somebody trolls, I heart them and I pin them to the top of the comments and I just let everybody else fight it out.
Yeah.
That's usually what I do.
That's a good way. And a lot of times our fans will end up, getting our back, and they will, they'll set the person straight, almost to the point where the person will remove their comment.
Right.
It happens pretty often, and it's just, again, it's just sad, and then I hear this a lot, because what ends up happening is people will see, oh, okay, Kiesel Guitars, and they haven't heard about Kiesel for very long, and so they assume we've been on the scene for a couple of years, and we've had it really easy. That's the assumption, and I get a lot of messages. People are like, oh, you're the luckiest guy and this and that. And you know what? I had an awesome opportunity. I did. And I'm very thankful for that. And there's not a day that goes by that I don't understand that my grandfather put this in place for my dad to make it successful, to give me the opportunity. But when you have an opportunity, you can do several things with it. It's like they say, there's a hammer. You can leave it in your toolbox. You can build a house with it, and you can also smash your finger with it. So you gotta, if you have the opportunity, do something with it.
Yeah.
And work hard. I mean, I can't tell you I've only worked for this company, I mean, I've had some consulting jobs I've done for other people to help out, actually in the automotive industry, because I race cars as well. And so I've helped them consulting and work like that. But the point is, this is all I've done. I'll be 41 in April, and I've had a lot of sleepless nights. And, when you own your own business, everybody assumes that it's easy and everything's set for you. And there's the joke, oh, man, it must be nice you get to work half days. You're right, I get to work half the day. That's exactly right. 12 hours a day. A lot of days, and a lot of times it's on the weekend. And early on, I was working almost 100 hours a week.
Yep.
When we first split this company into Kiesel, because these new models, these new options, these new features, they don't create themselves. I don't have a design department. It's me. I don't have anybody else here. I do all of my own designs. So, when we're seeing all these things, and the thing that is hard for me at times is I'll come out with a brand new model, I'm all excited and I'm live, and you get a couple of yahoos that are like, oh, when are you going to make this? It's like, guys, can you show like a little bit of gratitude, please? Like, it's a brand new model, just, give it a little bit of time. Don't ask for something new already.
Yeah.
So it's hard, and I got to remind myself, of that.
You have a very similar temperament to me, really. It seems like, I don't have a whole lot of patience for that kind of stuff, but I have to remind myself that, it's just because somebody wants like a video that's different than the one I just put up, it doesn't necessarily mean they're wrong. It just means, I haven't gotten around to that yet, and I have to remind them. It's like, look, I only have so many hours in the day. It's like,
absolutely,
yeah, they just don't get it. There was a news story about Gibson. They were going to try to start licensing their stuff, so it was like basically Gibson authorized guitars. So they were going to let these other companies, and this is their other way that they're going about trying to establish some kind of legal standing for trademarks and such, is that they're getting other companies to sign off on these deals to allow them to create guitars in the shapes that they claim they own, like the V and the Explorer and stuff like that, and pay a license fee. And he was one of the first people who was kind of duped into signing on to this, because what they did was they sent him a cease and desist first, because he was making stuff like Dean was making and everybody else on the Sun's making. And they sent him first a cease and desist, just like they've done with you. And then they came back with their lawyers and they tried to negotiate him into a contract for a licensing deal. So he would pay a licensing fee. So that was one of their tactics with him, and I've been meaning to get him on the show, but he's got an attorney that is advising him to kind of hold off, and I don't know what for, but I just thought I would let you know that, just to kind of put under your quill.
Yeah, I didn't even hear about any of that. Again, we kind of joke here, the guys do with me at least, because I am so much in my own bubble, and the big reason for that is I want whatever I'm creating to be as original as possible, and I don't want any outside influence. I don't spend time on the internet, and unfortunately, you do that, you work real hard, and they say imitation is the sincerest form of flattery. Well, we have a lot of people that have really copied what we've done, in the past several years. And again, not saying I invented the guitar or anything like that, but we did do some things that were pretty forward thinking, like the Aries guitar. It has a huge bevel on it. And when I was getting ready to release it, nobody thought the bevel was good. They said, it's too big, you need to make it smaller, it's not going to sell, it's not going to be successful. I just dug in and said, this is how it has to be. And I launched it, and there was 50% hate for that guitar when we launched it. And the guys were like, told you. And, well, you fast forward to today, it's our number one selling guitar. Almost every company in the industry has copied that bevel. And, here we are, right? And so that does happen.
Yeah.
And so sometimes you got to be forward thinking, and at the same time, you got to also take your chances and protect things too. And we do have patents, design patents on our models, almost all of them. Obviously, when we launched our version of a Strat, it's called the Delos. We didn't design patent that because, well, it's a Strat. I did, however, design patent my headless Delos. So, which I do have a design patent on that. So if anybody decides they want to make a headless Strat-style guitar, if it's too close to ours, then we will actually have grounds for a cease and desist, because this is not protecting it after the fact. This is doing something, protecting it, and then saying, hey guys, we do have a protection on this. You're going to need to make a change. And that's not the case with Gibson. So I understand where they're at. Unfortunately, they decided not to protect something for 50 some odd years and then go after it. And that's not what you do.
Yeah.
So they got themselves in this pickle.
They sure have. I don't know how. I honestly, I think they've lost so much goodwill in the guitar community, and they just keep losing it. That's the problem. It's like every time you think, okay, well, maybe they're past this and they're going to do better, it's like they just keep, like, they'll come out with a video bulldozing 300 guitars. You know what I mean? So it's like, what? I just don't get it. I don't know what they're thinking. And, especially the cease and desist against you on that guitar. I mean, to be quite honest with you, I'll be straight up with you, man. Grover Jackson has more of a complaint against you than they ever did. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
it's like,
sure.
It's not, but yours is like completely reversed from his. You know what I mean? I see the difference, and I would never mistake your guitar for a Jackson. You know, so it's like it's a different freaking guitar, guys. Get over it. You know what I mean? If you want to do something, then go back to the drawing board and do something that's new and that you haven't done since 1960. You know what I mean? That's the way I see it.
Well, and two, you don't let somebody manufacture something and get their business going and then say something. That's really, I guess, there's that timeline, right? And people can claim they didn't know, but obviously, we've been making that Ultra V since the mid 80s, 86, and you can't claim you didn't know for that long.
Yeah, exactly.
So I guess that's kind of where the bigger problem is. I think what they probably did is they probably went, oh, here's this Kiesel company. How old's Kiesel? And they look, and they go, oh, Kiesel's 2015. They go, oh, well, they can't make this. Maybe not knowing we were Carvin. I don't know. So, again, still not very logical from that standpoint, but I guess that would be better than the latter, which is knowing that we've been making it for, since the 80s. I don't know. You're probably right about the licensing thing. I think that is, you're probably right on the money with what you said. They're probably hoping for us that we would, in fact, go ahead and go along with that.
Right. The value,
That's
dude.
probably what it is.
KKR, man, here's what they do, dude. The value in Gibson is in any patents, any intellectual property they have. That's the value in Gibson, really. And if they can come in, they figure, if they can come in with their team of lawyers, and if they can push people around in the industry, and they can establish their patent superiority in the industry, that they'll basically double the value of the company overnight, and then they can sell it off for a huge profit, or they can sell it off piecemeal. And if they want to sell the patents piecemeal, they could do that. You know what I mean? They have all kinds of options at that point. I think that's what they're doing. They're basically they're kind of the vulture capitalist type. I don't think they give a damn about guitars. They don't care about making guitars. They're just coming in, trying to establish more value, and that's where they're at right now.
Yeah, I mean, that does make sense. I mean, there's a math formula for American-made guitars, at least, and typically the company would be worth about 8 times the annual profit. That's what American guitar companies are worth. American, not import. That's what they can be worth. I don't know what Gibson's profit is, right?
Yeah.
So I don't know what their worth really is from that standpoint. So you might be totally right. Maybe their profits aren't good, and they're realizing that, and then they're trying to go after the patent game. But totally could be accurate.
Yeah, I think it is, just based on everything that I've seen. It just seems like it's the only explanation that fits the data, But yeah, I wanted to ask you a couple more questions before I let you go, and then I will let you go. I'm sorry for taking up all of your time.
No
here.
problem, you're fine. It's an easy day for me because it is a holiday, so I'm here with my sales staff. My whole shop is gone. Nobody's here, so we just have a minimum crew today. So it's actually probably the best day possible for me.
Well, the two main questions I wanted to ask you, dude, before I let you go, because I didn't want to make this all about Gibson. I wanted to make this about you too. First of all, who is your major? Who do you idolize as far as luthiers in the guitar business? I mean, who is your main source of inspiration? Like growing up, who made you want to? Besides your dad, I mean, who made you want to build guitars? Who do you think is one of the greatest designers that you kind of look up to? Other than your dad?
That's a hard one because, I mean, if you look at our guitars, they really don't look like, especially what we're doing now, really don't look like anybody else's.
Yeah.
So again, being in that bubble, my focus, has never been worrying about what anybody else is doing. My favorite guitar prior to, taking over the design work is probably our single cut, our CS6. I have it tattooed pretty large on my forearm. So I've always liked the Les Paul style guitar. I've always been a fan of that. But I can't say that, I'm a fan of any other luthiers out there. I mean, I've played some of these other guitars, and some of the drawbacks for me are some of the playability, where first and foremost, that's what I focus on, is playability, and then aesthetics second, because it's got to be playable. And there's some really beautiful looking guitars out there, but they have huge bulky neck heels. I'm not going to say any names, but some of the best looking guitars are the hardest to play.
Yeah. And
that's what I didn't want with our guitars. I wanted to increase the playability. And so when I came in and, basically had the conversation with my dad, I said, look, it's time for me to do something of a higher capacity, whether it's, here or on my own. I need to be at a higher capacity. And he was like, okay. And, that conversation, we had it a couple of times over a couple month period. And, I had other people asking me to design guitars for them, other guitar companies.
Mm-hmm.
And so I had some offers. And
Really? That's cool.
Yeah. And I said, look, I got to do something above what I'm doing now, because I have these other offers. So either I can make our brand great, I can make my own brand great, or I can make somebody else's brand great.
Yeah.
And I had registered the Kiesel logo myself personally. I paid for it because our company wasn't protecting it. And I had wanted to use it, had talked about using it. Nobody else had any interest in using it. And I registered it personally. I didn't use my company credit card. That later came up when we were doing this legal separation, which was very tedious. Because then at that point, the other side really wanted to use the Kiesel name. Legally, they couldn't at that point, and they still legally can't. And I had a non-compete for 5 years for amplifiers and audio gear. They also had a non-compete for 5 years for guitars, which that was up February 1st. Our non-competes are up. So
okay,
if I wanted to out with a Kiesel line of anything, I can.
Yeah. Interesting.
They can never use the Kiesel name at all, ever, and put it on a product. They also can never use the Carvin name and put it on a guitar, because we own that name. We still build one guitar, the Jason Becker JB200, the tribute guitar. We still build that as a Carvin.
Right.
So that's our only Carvin model. But by having that one model, we protect the name, and we can go on with it forever, because you can't squat on a name. You can't own the name and not use it. At some point,
right,
somebody else can start using it.
Smart.
That name will never go away, because it's a lot of history. We wouldn't want ever to have somebody else using it. So
what are...
to answer your question, growing up, watching my dad do this, my dad was such a great guy, always to me made time for me. I saw how he really enjoyed it, and I listened to rock and metal, and so it's like it just made a lot of sense for me, to want to do this. And I didn't look online at other guitar companies, especially in the earlier days. Social media, some of it you can't help, because I might be on there posting something, or someone might reference something, so I have to look at something else. But I really don't have anybody else that's ever really excited me. I think some guitars are cool. I like some of the Jackson stuff. I think it's neat looking. I've liked the Les Pauls, but I can't say that there's another brand or another luthier. And I haven't met these other guys. I go to NAMM, I stay in my booth, I meet all the fans and customers that come in, and I meet a couple hundred people a day, and I hang out at my booth. I don't walk around, I don't hide, I hang out with the people.
Yeah, your booth has a really good showing at NAMM. Every time I see any kind of NAMM coverage, you guys are all over You're all over everybody's coverage, and that's so good. Good for you. But on the
well,
point,
we love doing it. We love being there.
Yeah. No, it definitely shows that, man. That swirl guitar, you know which one I'm talking about. It had the epoxy swirl.
Yep.
Dude, that was insane.
That was like the hit of the show.
It was, dude. That I was gobsmacked by that. I mean, I didn't get to see it personally, but I saw it in pictures and stuff, and man, that was something. So really,
thanks.
Great job.
It was a cool one. All that custom stuff I do myself. So
yeah, that was really impressive.
Get to dream up stuff and have a lot of fun. I mean, it's really cool. I mean, it's like, I don't know, it's a dream come true what I get to do every day, and I'm thankful every day, and I like getting the feedback from people, and it's just a good time.
So are you thinking, you mentioned the amp stuff, are you thinking about the non-compete's up, are you going to do any amps?
No plans to.
Okay. But it's not outside the realm of possibility, though.
It would be something for us. Is I'm at maximum capacity here.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't be able to necessarily do it here in my building. And it's not that it doesn't interest me. It's just all my attention has been on the guitars, and I don't want that to stray. Because when I was able to just purely focus on guitars, we saw the success of our guitars,
right.
Where I didn't have to, worry about the other avenues, because I was, in charge of sales, shipping, service, order entry, and social media and marketing for the whole company. And so when you have all these jobs that other people at one point were doing, and then, here's a company that, we're losing ground market share, and so we have to, get rid of people, right? Because you got to get rid of staff if your sales aren't there. So every time there's this new position, well, hey, Jeff, why don't you do that? Okay, sure. Meanwhile, my cousins, they didn't get any new responsibilities. And I got one living in Alabama working who knows how many hours a week with one employee, the other one coming in and going whenever the hell they want, and I'm there busting my ass. I got over 50 employees, and, my older, not superior, but older cousins, it's like, it's a joke. It's like, what's going on here, And so I finally started saying no. Nope, I'm not going to take on these extra responsibilities. Nope.
Yeah.
I got enough going on. Nope. And it got frustrating. It just got to the point where it was like, here you own 25% of a company, and, you're working more hours than anybody else there, and everything else didn't fall in that same 25%. I mean, I'll just say that.
Right.
So it just got on our own, man, and it's just been like the awesomest thing ever. And I think I needed to go through that like really bad time to be so appreciative, because when you are in a situation and you have these trials and tribulations that you make it through, you are so much more appreciative of what you have. And had I not gone through that, maybe I wouldn't be the person I am today. So I'm very thankful for going through that.
Well, I think you've done great things with the company, man. I definitely congratulate you. And I think the one good argument against doing amps is that, technology is moving so fast, and with all the modeling stuff that's coming out, you're not really even sure which direction amps are going to take off in. You could always go the tube route and issue a few simple tube amps and probably do okay, but technology is very hard to keep up with, It's
absolutely
much harder than anything else. So I think it's probably wise of you, to hold back, in a sense.
Yeah.
So, I think, man, what you've done with the company is just amazing, Jeff. And man, I'm going to let you get on to the rest of your day. And I really, really, really appreciate your time, dude.
Hey, no problem, man. Thanks for making the time. I know you got a busy schedule yourself, and anybody wants to know more info, call my guys. They're guitar nerds. 858 Guitars. Look online. Our website does kind of suck. Kiesel Guitars. It's outdated. It's 90s technology. We focus on our guitars, not necessarily this. You walk into a fast food restaurant, you see the burger up on that screen there, and you're like, man, that looks good. You order it, and then you get this thing that sucks. We're the opposite. Our website sucks. You get this thing that's amazing. And at some point, our website will catch up to the quality of guitar we're building today. But we're always, continuing to push the envelope and build a better product.
Yeah, it definitely shows, man. I appreciate all your time once again.
Awesome, brother. Well, you have a good one.
All right, you too, Jeff. Bye-bye, sir. All right, that'll do it for this video. Thanks for watching. You all take care.